on the one platform. So in the self-service, everybody goes to a single portal. So there's only one place people have to remember to go. There's not one place for HR, a different place for security, a third place for facilities. They come to one place, and then they can request a service under these various groups. Lots of ways to slice and dice this, but this is a clean picture to just show some of the ways you can do that. And we're going to look at entitlements, which means you can also make sure not everybody gets to see everything. So having entitlements in the system helps that portal be more usable to the groups that come in. Things like automated assignments. That security incident's a great one. It's going to automatically get assigned to the security team. David probably has it automatically closing as well, but that way nobody else has to see it. So you can make sure the right kinds of things happen, things go to the right place within the system. You can tie SLAs. How many non-IT groups actually have SLAs so that they get back to you on a timely basis? It starts getting everybody into that same thinking of, we are service providers, we need to have some guidelines. Something might take 3 weeks, it might take 3 hours, but we need to have our SLAs tied to that so we get notified. Of course, you all know about the approvals in Remedyforce, the great reporting. I like this bullet on avoiding tool proliferation. If you don't put people under Remedyforce, you may end up with HR bringing in a system specifically for HR questions, facilities bringing in one for facilities, and security bringing in one for security. And sometimes that may be appropriate. There may be point solutions. Remedyforce is not an HR solution. We can't do everything an HR does. So there may be a reason for an HR solution. But if you have all the requests coming into Remedyforce, you've got better measuring, better assignments, and less maintenance of those other solutions. So let's not bring in a lot of different request systems. Let's not be doing one thing in SharePoint, one thing in Remedyforce, and a third thing via email. Let's bring them all in. And, of course, get the request out of email because you cannot report on email. And we do have a customer who has 45 email boxes, I think they said. And right now those email boxes go to 45 different sets of people. And what they're looking to do is put a few service requests out on the self-service portal, have people use those, have those get assigned out to the groups automatically, and get rid of those 45 email boxes. So that's an exciting project David's going to be working on soon, I'm sure. So how do we help, along with the things you saw on that previous slide? Number one, data segregation. Out of the box, if you were not a member of that security queue that David mentioned, you would not be able to see those security tickets. And that's key. Now, some of our customers have implemented a show everyone everything sharing rule. So if you do start bringing other groups onto the system, we need to get rid of that rule. But default, out of the box with Remedyforce, everything gets split up by queue. But there are a lot of other ways to slice and dice things through accounts, profiles, and permission sets that are built in throughout the solution. And we're going to be looking at some of those. Very obvious example is on the self-service portal. The branding is done by accounts. What service requests you see can be driven by profiles. So that's a pretty obvious example of those. And we're going to look at some of the different ways to deal with those and help you slice and dice your data. But the form layouts, to me, is a key part. When that came in a couple of years ago, I think that's really helped people bring other groups onto it. Now, David did up that special Visualforce form for Goodman, and it's a great form, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You could build a form layout for a particular group that only has a handful of fields on it. They're the only ones who see that form layout. They see their fields, their categories, their templates, their statuses, and they're able to fill that out. So we're going to take a look at that because I think that really expanded the ability to bring groups on because now not everybody's looking at the same set of fields, whether they're IT, whether they're HR, whether they're security. Finally, a lot of you probably know about this. Some of you might not. BMC has built smart practice data, which is basically a set of service requests, templates, categories, queues, etc., for HR facilities and IT. And you can import those into your Remedyforce org and start using them. However, especially since David's on the phone, big caution from our ops team. Do that in the sandbox. BMC gave us a lot of stuff in those smart practice data. If it gets imported into an org, it's going to create queues, it's going to create categories, templates, etc., and you may not want all of those in your production org. So you want to look at smart practice data, great. do it in your sandbox first. And of course, if you need help with that, the RightStar resources are here to help you. I don't know how many Remedyforce administrators we have on the phone versus people that are brand new to Remedyforce, but just know that for those of you that are brand new, you do get a sandbox with Remedyforce, and that gives you a place to test things out before you put it in your production org. And this is one of those things we say, please put it in your sandbox before you put it in production. We do have some tips based upon these years of bringing other groups on. Get organized. Let's talk with the groups. Let's set a go live date. Meet regularly to make sure you're doing the right things. Starting small is good. You may not want to bring 10 disparate groups under Remedyforce at the same time, but start with 1 or 2 groups and see how they work with it. See what makes sense. Do generally groups just need 1 service request, or are they going to need a bunch of service requests? How many fields do they really need? All those kinds of things. A lot of times the requests coming in do need documents filled out, whether it's some kind of, new hire form or something else. So you can make sure they're allowed to attach documents to their self-service requests. We're going to take a look at that as well, but let's encourage them to do that. You don't necessarily have to replace documents with a self-service request if the documents are really long, but allow people to attach them to it. I'm going to jump down to the bottom to have a business service owner and change control process. Again, this is something David and Leah have been running into in the, quote, real world. We have some customers who like to delegate out the administrative part for the different groups, which is great. HR can do their own things. Security can do their own things. Facility can do their own things. Account payable can do their own things. That's great. But without a change control process, you might end up stepping on each other. Remember, these groups haven't been drilled in ITIL like the way the IT groups have been. So we've had groups, for example, an administrator go in and make a field required because the AP team requires that field, but now it's required for everybody, and the other groups not even have that field on their form. So suddenly nobody can submit a ticket. So change control process, do things in the sandbox first, have a regular meeting of the stakeholders, the administrators, the appropriate people to make sure when you move it to production, you're not stepping on each other. So it's great to bring the other groups on. We just want control, a little bit of control around it, and not just make it the wild, wild west. I'm just going to check the Q&A window because I kept forgetting to check it. It looks like it's okay for now. Okay. I didn't exactly want to call this a demo, but we are going to walk through some of the things we have talked about, and then we're going to come back because I have 2 more slides I want to discuss in terms of using Remedyforce in a lot of creative ways. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you are not seeing a full screen, you're seeing some initials across the top. Go ahead and go all the way to the right where there's a rectangle. Hover your mouse over it, and there's a floating panel view. I'm coming right back to that self-service portal because we mentioned that's the way you can start segregating things out. I'm logged in as Jackson. I'm seeing my particular broadcast. I'm seeing the logos and stuff. And of course, a lot of this is configurable. Broadcasts are a great point of how you can use the system with other groups. If you know your benefits sign-up is coming up in the next week, HR can put a broadcast out here. If you know you're having a potluck, put that out here. You can put other messages out here. They don't only have to be IT. As we saw in David's screen print, and my system's not going to align to his exactly, but you can actually break up your services categories by department rather than more of here. You can see I have some departments out here. I have facilities, marketing, HR. So we already have some departments out here. You can break it up by that, or you can do other things as well. And I believe in the latest version, by the way, you can modify these icons, these pictures. I haven't done that yet, but you can do that in the latest version. So when I talk about segregating these out, I'm going to talk about this communications request. I've got a communications request here, various kinds of things that I might want to do out here. I want a brochure, got a target audience, things going on. And down here, I'm going to go ahead and attach that brochure if applicable. So I can just go ahead and add an attachment. If I look at how we built this service request, here's the entitlement page. So I have said it's available to everyone. And then I had say show it to all users, but I don't have to. I could just say only certain users get to see that particular service request, either through profiles, permission sets. And this starts getting you a lot of bang, a lot of power here, Because I could say, well, that communications request, only people in my marketing team should do that. So I'm going to create a marketing team permission set. I'm not going to have much in it, but I'm going to use that permission set that only marketing team gets to see this particular communications request. So again, configurable, out of the box, data-driven, all those buzzwords we use right off the bat. You're able to make sure people see what they're entitled to see, and they don't see what they don't get to see. So use your self-service portal for that. I'm sure you all have seen the kind of demos before, where if I log in as somebody else, if I come in as Mike instead of Jackson, I'm going to get a different look and feel. And I'm going to get potentially different service requests here as well. So Mike happens to be a Spanish language speaker, so he's marked as that. He's also a different account, so he's seeing different colors. And again, he can see different service requests here as well. A lot of personalization going in, and this isn't any kind of custom programming. I'm not creating multiple kinds of portals. It's all in the same portal. It's just done again with those permissions. Now I'm going to spend some time on the administrative side on how you can set all this up. Actually, no, I'm first going to go to the Remedyforce console to show something. Like you all out there. I'm seeing on an incident here. And this is where we start talking about form layouts. I have a whole bunch of layouts here. I can see everything. But you can control who gets to see what by profiles. I might have some people that can only see the customer care layout. Others can see the incident layout. So what's the difference? Look across the top here. All these hyperlinks. These are field sets. I have all these field sets in my incident default layout. If I go to my customer care layout, I've got a simpler form. I now have just these four links, these four field sets down here. The other thing I have is I have more limited templates and categories. Because in the customer care group, they don't want to see all those IT templates. They just want to see the templates that apply to them. So I'm seeing the templates that apply to customer care layout. I'm seeing the categories, a limited set of categories, because again, they only care about the ones that apply to them. And you can even get it down to statuses. So here under status, I just have a few statuses. If I take this back to the incident console default layout, I'm going to go ahead and start with status. If I look at my statuses, I have a whole lot of statuses here. My customer care layout, didn't need to see those. They didn't get to see those. If I come back up to templates, I got a whole lot more templates up here. And the customer care has to see. And the same thing when I click on categories. So that's why I say form layouts to me were a huge jump forward to allow people to start bringing these groups on, because customer care does not want to see all this stuff. IT, absolutely, we want to see everything, but other groups don't necessarily want to see that. How the form layouts are configured are done in Remedyforce administration. It's done in just, if you're trying on your system at home, I come into Home Consoles, which gets me into this view. Then I can click on Create and Edit Layout. Well, here's where I'm going to go ahead and create the layouts. Let me go ahead and do that again. On that, on incidents. And I'm able to see those different kind of layouts. There's some other things we have to do around building the field sets that we want to expose. I had to create this team field set. But here's where I go ahead and configure which field sets customer care gets to see. And here's where I say what categories, templates, and statuses. Really easy, folks. We'd be happy to help you with it, take you through your first couple, and then you can start onboarding groups to your heart's content. The other thing around bringing on different groups is, of course, assignments. Several ways to do that. If you're going to keep the email paradigm going, where they email to the HR email box, it goes to a particular group, we can actually route based on the email box that it comes to. But here's an example of assignment rule where I say if it's like payroll in the description or HR is in the description, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to the HR sysadmin. So you can use the assignment rules to make sure it gets to the right group as well. Of course, you can build your service level targets. You can build service levels for the different groups. They don't all have to have the IT service level agreements. And again, you can go ahead and what else was I going to talk about here? I think we already talked about request definitions. You can again have different request definitions with different questions and different entitlements. So there are a lot of things you can do through the default configuration that's going to give you what you need. The last piece I wanted to hit out here was around the data segregation, because I say it, not everybody believes it. I am logged in as myself here, and I have everything. I'm in every group. I'm in every queue. I have 1,413 tickets on my open thing because I'm in everything. Over here, I'm logged in as Charlotte. I'm logged in as Charlotte. She hasn't switched to Lightning yet. Shame on her. But she's only in a few queues. So she's looking at the all open view just like I am, but she only has 80 tickets. So she's only going to see tickets for queues that she's a member of. And that's very key. Like David mentioned around security, you want those only the security team to see the security tickets. Default, out of the box, comes with Remedyforce through the power of the queues. So even though she may see the other queues on here, she's not a member of them, she is not going to see the tickets in them. And that's the other key feature to me. Obviously the data segregation is big, but adding in those form layouts a year or two ago was the other big thing that allows you to do this. I'm hoping what you're seeing here, before I go back to my PowerPoints, a lot of different ways to slice and dice the data, and of course you can build your reports accordingly. Before I go back to my PowerPoints, I'm just going to go ahead and check for Q&A. I must be making more sense than I thought it was making. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to go through 2 more slides. First, Remedyforce is amazing, but there are ways to extend it. So here I'm showing the BMC Marketplace. And I've done a search for Remedyforce. This is actually a tab on your Remedyforce instance, or you can go to the BMC site and look for it. This is going to show you some of the ways you can extend Remedyforce through partner integrations. My favorite, of course, right down here, RightStar has ScanStar, which is a barcode scanning app for phones, Androids and iOSs, that allows you to receive assets, track assets, move assets. I can reassign them from place A to place B, person A to person B, actually have them sign that they got the asset, and allows me to audit my assets as well. Really cool tool. So if you're struggling with asset management and you do have barcodes on those assets, or you're planning to, we'd love to show you ScanStar down the road. It's a way to extend, and it ties straight into the Remedyforce CMDB, real-time updates. If you have to work in a batch mode, we can do that as well. So that's one of the key applications out here, but there's a lot of other things on this whole marketplace that may be of interest to you. There's a couple integration tools. I know our partner Viome, BMC's partner Viome, has Automation Edge. That's a way to do third-party integrations. So you don't want to build, maybe you don't want to build a custom integration using Patal Kettle every time. Rather, you want a more out-of-the-box integration to third-party products. Automation Edge may be a route for you to go. And yet a whole lot of stuff out here. X Matters, call escalation. It's great that Remedyforce can assign things, that it can email people, it can do SLAs, but maybe you need a more real-time call escalation where you keep calling through the chain until somebody actually takes ownership of a particular ticket. Then you can look at things like the X Matters integration. So one of the things I would say, as well as bring other groups on here, you're looking for other functionality. BMC Marketplace is a good place to start. But of course, the be-all and end-all is appexchange.salesforce.com. This is where you can say, I love Remedyforce, I've been doing a lot of things in it, but I really need a really robust project management tool that has Gantt charts, that has milestones, that has combined time tracking with Remedyforce and projects, that has resource allocation. Well, there are 2 applications on AppExchange, Cloud Coach and Cloud Biz, that interface in with Remedyforce. I know we've implemented the Cloud Coach Milestones app for some customers already. So you can go with us, you can go with the project people, but those are out there on AppExchange. And there are a lot of other things on AppExchange. So let's say your HR team, for example, says, again, Remedyforce is great in terms of getting questions in, but we need the full HR application. There's probably one out on AppExchange where they can do the other HR functionality that Remedyforce doesn't do. warehouse applications, accounting applications, etc. And back to that benefits slide, because I'm sure everybody remembers what I talked about 20 minutes ago, having them all on the same platform reduces your administration cost because your learning curve is a lot shorter on the new applications. You don't have to worry on the upgrades because Salesforce upgrades the platform, vendors upgrade the applications. You understand how these things work together. Your users are used to using it, so that training curve goes down as well. So keeping things on the same platform can give you a lot of advantages. I think that was going to be my last slide. If this is exciting to you guys and you want to start implementing non-IT stuff on Remedyforce, please do contact your RightStar sales rep or David and Leo if you're working with them. We all love to talk to you and see what we can do to help extend your use of the platform. Dick, have you noticed any questions coming in?
Well, now actually would be a good time to ask a question or two, so there should be a Q&A box, so just go ahead and put your question in there. While we're waiting, I have a couple of questions. So for the first one that came to mind, and David, maybe you can help a little bit with this one, is when you went through, you talked about the Goodman success story or non-IT application, and I know you have a favorite state and local government agency that you've worked with. Could you talk a little bit about that and what did they do? Why did they roll out Remedyforce to all these different departments? And what do you think the reason for that, or what was the value that they achieved in doing something like that?
That's a very good question. I do have a company that is a government entity, and I think they decided to go with Remedyforce because of a lot of the points that Ann brought up. The administrative costs go way down, and as well as the training. So I actually assist with the training, and every training where we're rolling out again to another set of users, they're already now used to using the self-service portal. So when we bring them on as full-blown staff members, the learning curve is a lot easier. They already understand exactly what needs to go in. They know what required fields are. They understand that. They get the application. They understand the emails. And even the requirements gathering with them becomes easier as well. So having all their departments, and they also deal with their constituents, because again, it's a government entity. Their constituents can call in. So everybody is having this unified system, and it makes it easier for everybody to, at the company, do their job, run the reports, including management. One of the things that was really key for them was managers needed to pull data, and they were needing to pull data from various systems. Even though the data is segregated, their managers are able to see data for their very specific departments. So the data is segregated for the tax department, the judge's department. I think it's something different. Ann might even know what that one's called. But these various departments that are actually servicing the public, they're able to segregate their data, but various managers there are over these different departments. So one manager might need to see the data of 3 or 4 different departments. And instead of them having different systems where they'd have to export that to Excel and then feed it over to a manager, one manager has the appropriate rights. They can just log right in and look at a report and see all the records they're responsible for. It was just so simple for them to bring multiple teams on and use that one platform, especially for management.
Right. Thank you, David. And I think some of the other departments where there's a finance group, there was an accounting group, right? And so I think it's a good example of an important DevOps principle to collaborate and to try to keep it simple when you can. So take advantage of the tool set to do that rather than to go out and build your own silo that's doing your own thing. Is that a fair statement?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what they did. Okay. And so far it has treated them very well. Like Ann had stated, one of their learning curves has been getting change management in place. So they did have several different administrators. We're now at the point where they are utilizing change management better, and they're able to minimize the amount of incidents that they're causing by maintaining or by creating changes and then messing up somebody else. So they've now implemented change management as well, and they're reducing their number of incidents that they're causing by changes.
Okay. Thank you. And Ann, I have a question for you as well. And I know that you talked a little bit about customer care versus customer support or internal IT support. And sometimes when I think of customer care or or customer support application, I think of this Salesforce Service Cloud app. So how does that compare to Remedyforce? And is the line kind of getting a little bit fuzzy between the two? And I think they both work well together, don't they?
They work really well together. For customers that do have the Salesforce Service Cloud, and they're using cases for their external customers, I can give them a 360-degree view of the customers and give them other things as well. What they can do is when a customer question comes in that's more technical, maybe they're trying to access someplace on the website and it's not working, or they're trying to download something, from that case, the customer care person can say, hey, this should be an IT, check a box, and it automatically creates an incident over on the Remedyforce side. As that incident gets worked and gets resolved, it can then update the case record in the Service Cloud side. So if you do have that going on, absolutely the two work really well together. And that particular customer care layout, that was for David's customer, where they're taking constituent calls from just the general public. They didn't happen to have the Service Cloud, and so they wanted to be able to do all the basics within Remedyforce. Of course, we do then, again, Case does do some things around the 360-degree view a bit more than what Remedyforce does. It's a little bit two different purposes, but they work a little bit together.
Okay. Yeah,
looks like we do
have
a couple questions.
Yeah, you see them. So go ahead.
And I'm trying to. My window's a little small here.
I can read them if you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, now it goes.
You got it?
Okay, the RightStar app.
Yeah.
The RightStar app is ScanStar. And this is the idea of being able to, it's a great app. I know we have a lot of customers adopting it these days. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again very quickly. So over here you can see we have receive, track, verify, and audit. And basically if I need to receive a group of assets, I'll come into the receive, I'd fill out all the data, do some scanning of the barcodes, and it would automatically create those records in the CMDB. So if you're getting in 20 boxes that are all the same class, model, etc., fill those out, scan the 20 records, and they're in the configuration management database. Tracking is when now I'm going to allocate those out to somebody. So I go ahead and change the location and the deployment status, have them sign it, and now that gets updated in the CMDB. It can also be really good for loaners because you can very quickly loan it to somebody, change the status in the CMDB automatically to on loan, and then, because you changed it on the app, and then it goes ahead and you can do reporting on what's on loan. And auditing is pretty good because that's around, I'm going to go visit a site, and at that site, I think I have all these assets. So I go through, I scan them one by one, which causes them to flip the switch. And when I come back, I'll know any that I didn't find. I can run a report, and then I can try and track down those assets. So for those of you in environments where sometimes things walk or get moved, that's a really nice thing to have. It was very quick through ScanStar. Again, it works with the Remedyforce CMDB, as well as the footprints in the Remedy one. So that's one of those add-on apps that can enhance your use of the system. And again, there may be non-IT departments that want to use this if they are receiving assets for other reasons as well. So thanks for bringing up that question because we love talking about that app, and it comes in pretty handy for some of our customers. And the other question was how to engage. If you know who your sales rep is, just email them directly or call them directly. But if you do email the sales@rightstar.com, believe me, everybody sees it, and you will get a call back. And then we can talk with you in terms of if you already have some hours on the books, we can work with you there. If it is going to be a process that's going to take more, then we'll work on a statement of work and see what it's going to take. But the initial calls, call that number. You get on the phone with your account manager and me, and we'll go ahead and work on that. Oh, another great question, Dick. Can I answer one more?
You bet. Yeah, go ahead.
So the question was, how does the CMDB work as part of the offboarding process? If you go to appexchange.salesforce.com and you search on Remedyforce, there is an offboarding widget there. Now, it's an older offboarding widget, but if you install that into your environment and we do some tweaking on it, I can offboard somebody. So in self-service, I have an offboarding service request, and I say so-and-so is leaving the company. It creates an incident record, and it pulls all of their assets that are assigned to them in the CMDB to the incident form. So when I'm working that incident, I don't have to try and figure out what they have. I actually will see them attached to that incident, and I can say, no, you really did have 2 laptops. Where is that second laptop? Would you mind finding it? So that widget was built by BMC, and like I said, because it's been around a while, it takes just a little bit of tweaking, but to get all the flows and everything set up exactly right, but not too bad. I think I did it in my environment the last time I had a new environment. It took me maybe an hour or 2, and it goes ahead and I think it's really cool. As long as you have the assets attached in the CMDB, you're going to go ahead and have them attached to the incident. I know I've been talking and not showing because I was finding the right ticket before I shared my screen. But here's an offboarding ticket. On the service request form, I said we were going to offboard Luke Jones. And so down here, I've got all of Luke's assets that were assigned to him in the CMDB linked to this particular incident ticket. Now, some of these are services, so I need to let whoever de-accesses those or takes away his access, let them know about those. But some of these are actual physical assets. And so I'm going to say, okay, Luke, I want your Dell desktop. I want that iPad. Oh, you have another Dell. I want to get that too. So absolutely, you can use Remedyforce and the CMDB together. I just love that they have that widget out in AppExchange. So thanks for that question because I love talking about that one.
I'd like to chime in on that question as well with another quote-unquote success story. I had a higher education customer that had a very specific higher education problem. They have this all the time. Every year, a ton of people leave. They graduate. Maybe they drop out, whatever. But they all leave at some point, and the laptop process was quite cumbersome for them, and they needed some way to figure this out. And what we ended up doing was making a service request form for them, and the user actually does need, or the student needs to actually show up to return the laptop. There is a representative of the college sitting there, and they have 2 monitors that they're shared. The representative of the college is able to hand out a laptop to them if they're a new student or retrieving a laptop, and the student is actually filling out that form. What is your name? And then they're literally picking a laptop. Whichever laptop they pick, that is the laptop that representative of the school hands them. And then when that person is finally returning it years later, they're able to see that laptop as they do that process again. They show up in line to hand back their laptop. They pick their name. It shows which laptop they have, and then which location, which sort of bucket they're returning the laptop to. And that all gets handled behind the scenes in the CMDB. We are assigning that to the person, and we are assigning it back to a location. So we were able to really decrease the amount of time it was taking to assign and then return laptops. I don't even recall the number. It was so astronomical of how much time we were able to save by putting that process in the system instead of keeping that paper-based.
That's a great example. Anytime you have that kind of mass activity going on, more automation, the better. Thanks, David. Hey, I think that's all the questions, Dick.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions, so I wanted to just say, Ann and David, thank you very much for excellent job. And those of you who attended, I really appreciate your time. We hope you got something out of this. Join us next time. We have a webinar coming up in October on the 23rd. It's a DevOps 101 class. I think it's very educational, and you don't want to miss that. And then following that, I think the next week we have a webinar just on the BMC Discovery product, and we'll kind of give you an update on terms of what's new and what different products it works with now. So again, thanks everybody for your time this afternoon. We will make sure that we'll get you out an email with a link to the recording if you wanted to share that with others in your organization. So that's all we had. So long from RightStar, and we will see you the next time.